Welcome to Middle School Walk and Talk, a podcast series offering heart, hope, and health to members of our middle school communities. Hosts Phyllis, Fagell, and Jessica McGuire talk all things self-care, student well-being, school culture, and more. Middle School Walk and Talk is designed to support the concepts found in the successful middle school, This We Believe, and is a production of the Association for Middle Level Education. To learn more, visit amle.org. Today's episode, Stop Asking What Kids Want to Be When They Grow Up, with guest Julie Lammers.
Welcome back to AMLE's Walk and Talk podcast. Today we're joined by Julie Lammers, the new CEO of American Student Assistants. Britebound, formerly American Student Assistants, is a national nonprofit at the forefront of changing the way middle and high school students learn about careers and navigate to post-secondary education and career success. American Student Assistants is one of the leading organizations in career exploration and college and career readiness programming. ASA does partner with AMLE to create many resources specifically designed for middle grade students, including the Career Exploration in the Middle Grades Playbook, and they're also launching new resources focused on work-based learning and state-level policy models. Julie, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
ASA has partnered with AMLE on the Career Exploration Playbook. Why is the middle level such a critical time and a great time to begin career conversations with kids?
Thanks so much. Yeah, so American Student Assistants, we're a national nonprofit focused on education and career readiness issues. And one of the key things that we focus on is really trying to extend the runway for young people to be able to think about careers. I think historically we have spent a lot of time in high school and the later years before kids are actually having to make decisions about post-secondary education. That's when they focus on what do you want to do next after high school. But by that point, kids have lost a lot of opportunity to try things, to understand what they like, what they don't like, and to experience what is possible when it comes to career. And we know from a lot of research that kids begin to foreclose opportunities for themselves if they haven't seen it by the end of middle school. So our focus really is, how can we expand opportunities for young people in middle school to start thinking about career, ensure they're not foreclosing opportunities, and really be able to take advantage of all of the career readiness programming that is developing pretty rapidly in the high school space. But if you haven't been exposed to it or haven't thought about it before you enter those programs, you missed a lot of opportunity. So from a policy perspective, from a programming perspective, we're really trying to expand access for middle school students to understand who they are, what they love, and what they're good at, what the world needs, what the world will pay them for. Not picking something when you're in middle school, but really trying to understand better who you are and where you might fit in the world so that you can explore some of those opportunities.
What are some meaningful or practical ways to help students in middle school, 12, 13, 11-year-olds answer some of those questions or just start doing that exploration?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we really struggle with is the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, is really paralyzing for a lot of kids that don't know the opportunities. And so they fall back to the vet, the teacher, the things in their lives that are familiar and comfortable. And they don't have the opportunity to understand what else exists. And so really trying to focus on the things, helping young people understand the things that they love and that they might be good at is the place to start. And then as caring adults, then what does the world need and what can you get paid for are those follow-up questions, really to try to hone in actual careers that might work. We have created with the AMLE a couple of tools around this concept of trying to understand self-discovery that exist on AMLE's website that are worksheets that teachers can walk young people through if they're starting these conversations with them.
Are you finding that AI and all of the uncertainty and all of the kind of scary news stories coming out about layoffs and the disappearance of certain fields, has that altered how you approach the work?
Not really. I mean, I think one of the things that we know is that entry-level jobs will be fundamentally changed by AI. And so I think it is the opportunity and the challenge for all of us is to make sure young people have the skills to navigate AI really well. In the same way that 20, 30 years ago, people had to navigate the internet in order to be career ready, right? So what are the skill building opportunities in AI so that those first jobs, when they are augmented by AI, people are really prepared to enter the workforce in a strong way?
And hopefully they're augmented and not replaced.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's important for educators to understand that the resources and the intent isn't to have kids lock into career path, and probably parents too, not to have middle schoolers lock into a career path, because you're right. How could they when they don't even know themselves? So I like the idea of career exploration being more about actually exploring yourself as a human being and what do you enjoy. It's kind of what middle school is about anyway, is finding yourself. Um, what are some ways that teachers can mold that conversation if a student is many middle schoolers don't actually understand a lot about themselves right now.
Sure.
So how can we even help them to understand that, or what are some ways we can get them to explore more about themselves so they can even then begin to imagine how might that be a career where I could make money, or it could be lucrative or supporting to myself and my future family?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to being just as basic as when you do a hands-on experiment in class, or some, daily activity, to have that period of self-reflection. What did you like about this? Did you like the fact that it was hands-on, or would you prefer to write everything down? Like that teaches you about something about the way you like to work. Are you looking for something that is more about engaging in your community, or would you like to be doing something that is more individualistic? And so just having those basic conversations of actual taking the time to self-reflect on what is it that I liked about what we are doing on a daily basis. Young people don't often have those experiences, and honestly, there's so little time in the day sometimes to do that. It's hard for teachers, but taking that 5 minutes every day to say, okay, what did you like about this? What did you hate about this? And that's okay, because it teaches you something about yourself. Is sort of a really basic place to start.
I like that approach. When I was a brand new counselor and I had just finished an internship, my supervisor in the internship was wishing me well in my first job as a counselor. And she said, there's only one piece of advice I'm going to share with you that you must remember. And I leaned in, what is this piece of advice? And she said, never, ever, ever do a career day. And what she meant is that when you plan a career day, at least the way they were doing it, this was in elementary school at the time, you're coordinating with many volunteers from the community, many parents. You're trying to find space. You're trying to do it all on the same day and have everybody cycle in and out. And it was always, you know, just a complete disaster. And so when I think about career exploration, sometimes I think about the very okay, what are we teaching them about careers? And I do think that's part of it, bringing in, speakers during lunches that they can go hear, or bringing in people, maybe not all at once on the career day, but bringing in people to talk to the kids. What are some of the ways that you've seen be successful for actually showing kids different careers?
Yeah, so I think I think increasingly we're seeing the use of a lot of video in exposure to career. We have a great partnership that we've created with Road Trip Nation, which is an organization that actually puts kids on a bus and drives them around the country, meeting people in different careers, and they film documentaries about it. We're doing a program with them to focus a lot of the content on middle school students, so that the middle school students can start those conversations. We know that kids love video, and so that's one way of quick exposure for young people. I think bringing people into the classroom, certainly just to talk about their own personal experiences, is very valuable. Getting kids out into the community as much as possible to see what the possibilities are. It's sometimes harder logistically to do that, but I think kids are often looking for those hands-on experiences, much more engaging than the passive, reading about a career that they often find less than helpful and helping them truly understand what it might be. So any opportunities there are to expose young people to the realities of the working world is something they're really looking for. We had done quite a bit of research around policies around middle school career exploration and what was in place and how it was actually translating for students. Um, And we found that a lot of states are doing a lot when it comes to middle school around building career exploration curriculum, but kids weren't really reacting to the way it was being delivered. They were seeing it was a lot of paper and pencil exercises, not the hands-on types of experiences that they thought would be memorable and would really change their opinion about something. And that's really what they're looking for, some real hands-on exposure to the working world in order to understand it better.
With that lens, what role do you think families and obviously the community could play in supporting career exploration?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot that families could do. I think it is talking about these having these conversations on a regular basis, talking about what kids love, being open to the things that they are moving towards and moving away from as well. Really, just being supportive in their opinions about what works for them. We know that 50% of jobs still come through who you know, and so really trying to figure out what are the opportunities to expand the social network of a young person so that they can ask their parents' friends about their careers or ask their pastor or their coach what types of jobs and opportunities have they been exposed to, and it could provide a little bit more information on. So I think families and communities have a huge role to play in helping expose young people to what is possible for them. And quite frankly, young people don't often ask the questions, and adults don't often offer the information. So the more that we can do that and provide that information to young people, the better off we will all be.
I have a high schooler in my own house, and one of the things that I've noticed is that, and this is my youngest, and he seems to be much, much more entrepreneurial minded, as are many of his friends, compared to his brother and sister who are 5 and 7 years older than he is. And I'm seeing this shift in how kids and teens are viewing the potential for them to do different things, um, and in maybe a more realistic way than we as parents would even know.
Mhm.
What we as parents or educators might think of as, quote unquote safe careers that mean totally be old
Yeah.
information. Are you seeing any trends in that way among the kids you work with, or noticing anything?
Absolutely. I think more and more young people have the goal of working for themselves rather than working for somebody else. And so having those entrepreneurial skills is really important. Learning how to, take risks, how to fail and move on. All of those entrepreneurial skills that we know are so important to starting a business are really, really important. So we work with an organization called the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship that's really focused on that piece of it. How do we build skills around entrepreneurship? Um, they do a lot around doing pitch competitions and having kids pitch their ideas to professionals, really building that muscle of promoting their own ideas and figuring
Middle school Shark Tank.
Yes, exactly, and figuring out how to make it work successfully. So we are seeing that entrepreneurship is something that is a very high interest to this demographic, this generation of students, and that is increasing. It's not going away anyway. We don't necessarily know if that's a pandemic, sort of byproduct of a pandemic that young people feel like they need to have ownership in their future in some way, and owning a business might be a way of doing that. But it is certainly a trend.
Like hedging against the uncertainty.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They probably saw parents that couldn't control their own work environment. And so how do you hedge against it to some degree?
Yeah, and there's more job instability in general. And I'm in DC, so there's a lot of, shifting around and what people are doing, and kids are seeing that. So I think it's just really interesting because they're going to have to teach us some of the kinds of businesses that they're starting are so tech based
Mhm.
that they're just on a different page. And literally, we don't even know what they're doing necessarily.
Yeah, we also do see a lot of the students we work with really very community focused. And so when combining those two things around a need to help your community in some way and entrepreneurship, we see a lot of young people trying to solve community problems with the businesses they're setting up. We recently did a grant program where we actually gave high school students the opportunity to choose who was going to get almost $1 million worth of grants. And most of the organizations they picked were very hands-on learning focused. They were trying to solve a community issue in some way and really give back. So it was just interesting to see the types of opportunities young people are really drawn to are really around both entrepreneurship and community focus.
Looking for a purpose, looking for meaning, and some control over their destiny.
As you were saying that was an interesting fact to me. At our school, we have several clubs that are opt-in for all students, and our highest or most well-attended and highest liked club is a community service club. And a fourth of our student body is in that, a fourth grade. So, I mean, I think the future's bright because they really want to contribute to the greater good around.
And maybe it's related because they're not waiting for someone else to solve these problems.
Yeah.
They recognize that they need to solve them themselves.
It's to work.
Yeah. And they're doing it at younger ages.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Julie, we're ending the podcast and every episode with one really practical question. So, for our listeners who are predominantly middle level teachers, what is one career exploration activity or maybe even a mindset that you think every middle school educator should try this year?
I think it really is stop yourself from asking anyone what they want to be when they grow up.
Love it.
And shift more towards what do you love? What are you good at? And what do you think the world needs?
Perfect. Thank you for being with us. Would you like to remind our listeners where they can find the playbook?
Sure. It is. There is a career resource at the section of the AMLE website, and all of the information will be located there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.